Well, more critical information has just surfaced regarding the FBI's raid over Donald Trump's home. Information that you're absolutely going to want to hear. Everything from someone at the very, very top of the pyramid who just got busted getting involved in this FBI raid. In fact, they even denied that they had anything to do with the raid, not to mention Donald Trump filing a lawsuit against the FBI. And one other piece of bombshell information, a prior ruling proves that Donald Trump was right all along, that the FBI has been discredited, and that what the FBI has done is completely not only uncalled for, but according to this particular ruling, unconstitutional and not even verified. Lots of information to show you, but let's start first with who at the very top just got busted getting involved in this FBI raid. Well, that would be Joe Biden and the White House. We know just a few weeks ago, right before this raid, or right after this raid took place, Joe Biden's, Secretary of Press or press secretary came out and said, "We know nothing about the raid." Nope, not one word. We'll leave that to, the Justice Department. Take a look as a quick reminder. Bloomberg.com, Biden learned of Trump's raid from media reports, the White House says, the very next day after the raid, by the way. And here's what she said specifically. The Justice Department conducts investigations independently, and we leave any law enforcement matters to them, Jean-Pierre said. It would not be appropriate for us to comment on any ongoing investigation. In other words, we know nothing. We should just start calling Biden the commander and the liar in chief. That's it. I had it backwards. We should just start calling Biden the liar in chief, because that's exactly what he is. He gets 50 million Pinocchios because pretty much everything he says is the opposite of what it actually is. He is the worst of the worst when that comes. But let's just be frank, he's not really the one in charge. Now, is he? There's someone else pulling the strings because he's not all mentally there, obviously, in my opinion. But let's get into the bombshell news where he just got busted. Take a look at this article on justthenews.com. Biden White House facilitated Department of Justice criminal probe against Trump and scuttled privilege claims memo. It goes on. The Biden White House worked directly with the Justice Department and National Archives to instigate the criminal probe into alleged mishandling of documents, allowing the FBI to review evidence retrieved from Mar-a-Lago this spring and eliminating the 45th president's claim to executive privilege. According to contemporaneous government documents reviewed by Just the News, the memos show then White House Deputy Counsel Jonathan Su was engaged in conversations with the FBI, the DOJ, and National Archives as early as April. Shortly after, 15 boxes of classified and other material were voluntarily returned to the Federal Historical Agency from Trump's Florida home. By May, Su conveyed to the archives that President Joe Biden would not object to waiving his predecessor's claims to executive privilege, a decision that opened the door for the DOJ to get a grand jury to issue a subpoena compelling Trump to turn over any remaining materials he possessed from his presidency. In other words, Joe Biden opened the door for the DOJ to start the raid. Now, in his defense, he may not have been told that the raid was happening, but either way, he opened the door to allow it. But the article goes on. The machinations are summarized in several memos and emails exchanged between the various agencies in spring 2022, months before the FBI took the added unprecedented step of raiding Trump's Florida compound with a court-issued search warrant. The most complete summary was contained in a lengthy letter dated May 10th that the acting National Archivist Deborah Wall sent to Trump's lawyers summarizing the White House involvement. And here's what was contained in that particular letter. And it says, quote, "The counsel to the president has informed me that in light of the particular circumstances presented here, President Biden defers to my determination in consultation with the Assistant AG for the Office of Legal Counsel regarding whether or not I should uphold the former president's purported protective assertion of executive executive privilege, Wall wrote. I have therefore decided not to honor the former president's protective claim of privilege. Now, this memo provides the most effective, definitive evidence that the White House did everything to facilitate a criminal probe of not only his predecessor, but potentially the person and man who is going to be running against him in 2024 and is attempting to eliminate one of the legal defenses that Trump may use in court against what the FBI has done. This is uncalled for and beyond anything we have even seen in the history of the United States of America. Maybe this is why they don't want to hand over parts of their affidavit, just a little more icing on the cake, if you will. Here's CNN.com, and it reads this. DOJ opposes making public details in Mar-a-Lago search warrants probable cause affidavit, saying it could chill future cooperation. Gee, I wonder why they don't want it unclassified or released, right? But don't worry, the guilty party is always the one who wants to keep it silent. But that is not the case with Donald Trump. Take a look. NewYorkPost.com. Trump demands the immediate release of unredacted, I would love that, FBI raid affidavit. So the unguilty party is usually the one who says open it up, and the guilty party says closes it. Well, this is exactly what is happening with the DOJ. They're screaming, close it, we don't want you to know. And Trump is saying, get that bad boy open. Well, thankfully, a judge has at least in part ruled on it. Here is NewYorkPost.com. Judge officially rejects keeping Trump search warrant affidavit private. The article states, a federal judge in Florida formally rejected the Justice Department's plea Monday to keep an affidavit underpinning the August 8th raid on former Donald Trump's Mar-a-Lago estate completely private. In his 13-page ruling, U.S. Magistrate Judge Bruce Reinhart found that the government had not justified keeping the entire affidavit under seal due to the intense public and historical interest in an unprecedented search of former president's residents. Now, it must be noted that this is coming from the judge who I don't particularly trust at all, but this is a judge who has already recused himself before from a trial with Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton because of his complete disdain for Donald Trump. He has written very ungodly posts about the former president, Donald J. Trump. He was involved with the Epstein case, and of course, he also supports Barack Obama. I don't think that this is enough, in my opinion. I think we need to unrelease. I believe we need to release the entire affidavit because I don't trust this judge as far as you can throw him. By the way, if you really want to know what is going on, get to Restricted Republic. I can't stress that enough. We have covered in detail a lot of this information, and you're getting pieces of it here. You get so much more on Restricted, and you get two authors on there. You get Justice Knight, who you see on the screen, and myself. And right now, you can get it for $5 per month. Use the coupon code TRUMP, and you can get that $5 per month for the entire first year. But get there and get to know what is truly going on. But with that, I've got a couple problems. When the judge says, okay, we're going to just release parts of it, the problem is selective information is now being leaked to the mainstream media, like the New York Times. If they're going to leak information to the media that they select is leakable, then why can't we have our hands on the entire affidavit? As Trump says, give us the affidavit, and I think we should have it. You can't have selective portions of it coming out because a judge should really frown on that. I think knowing that, the judge should release. And here's what I'm talking about. New York Times. Trump had more than 300 classified documents at Mar-a-Lago. The National Archives, and this is again, the National Archives found more than 150 sensitive documents when it got a first batch of material from the former president in January, helping to explain the urgency. It took a way long after, right? That's why it was so urgent that they respond, but yet he had them ever since he left the office. So way over a year and a half, and you're going to want it now? But hey, I digress. This is information that was leaked by the deep state, if you will, to the New York Times. Again, the problem that I have with this, and I think it needs to be really said, is government officials leak these officials are leaking details, right, on what's going on while continuing to oppose disclosure in court. So you've got people leaking info from the same department that says we don't want it disclosed. And the only reason, again, that they would do that is to select what information they want out and what information they do not. Any judge in their right mind would frown on that kind of behavior and release the information. This is why I think the people have 100% right to know. And we have every right to know. You want to know what else is really interesting is based on a court ruling from a judge in the past, on a ruling with Bill Clinton, this should completely blow the FBI's raid out of the water, right? Take a look at this prior ruling. And this is a really important piece, by the way. I found this on Gateway, or actually, let me go to this one, redstate.com. I found it on Gateway Pundit, but I've liked this Red State article on it, but redstate.com. Old case involving Bill Clinton could have major impact on Mar-a-Lago raid. The article states this: Clinton made audio tapes with historian Taylor Branch during his presidency, and for a period of time, they were even kept in his sock drawer. Branch recorded 79 audio tapes that preserve not only Clinton's thoughts and commentary on contemporaneous events and issues he was facing as president, but in some instances recorded actual events such as presidential telephone conversations. Judicial Watch sued to have the tapes included in the archive. And by the way, they lost the suit. But he goes on to state this: but the U.S. District Judge Amy Berman Jackson ruled there was no provision in the Presidential Record Act to force the National Archives to seize records from a former president. What is interesting about the case is what it says in regards to the president's sweeping powers over records. And here's what she said, quote, under the statutory scheme established by the PRA, the decision to segregate personal materials from presidential record is made by the president during the president's term and in his sole discretion, Jackson wrote in her March 2012 decision, which was never appealed. Since the president is completely entrusted with the management and even the disposal of presidential records during his time in office, it would be difficult for this court to conclude that Congress intended that he would have less authority to do what he pleases with what he considers to be his personal record, she added. The judge also noted it would be wrong to seize the tapes from Clinton. Oh, wait now. It was an extraordinary request that was unfounded, contrary to the PR's express terms and contrary to the traditional principles of administrative law. The court agrees. So right here, you can see the differences of how they have treated Clinton in the past and how they are now treating President Trump. But under this 2012 ruling, it's very clear, right? If they're going to keep the laws even between Democrats and Republicans, which we all know right now they aren't, but we can take that part to court, or Trump can take that to court. But anyway, they said with Clinton, oh no, it is unfounded and contrary to what the court believes for you to even seize and go after the audio records of Bill Clinton. But yet, they went after the papers that were harbored by Donald Trump. Doesn't seem quite fair. And the second thing is, Biden, according to the report on Just the News, his administration was okay and willing to signed off on the fact that, hey, we will take away your executive presidential privilege. Well, that isn't exactly constitutional based off the ruling from 2012. Now, is it? So, again, it's one of those politically uneven justice systems here in the United States. If we are the real United States of America, then you treat one side the same as the other. But I think America is going to start waking up to the corruption within the FBI. And I do agree. Now is the time to defund the FBI, fire a good chunk of them, if not completely change and unroot the department because they have become nothing but a political weapon for the Democrat Party. But I digress. With that, the good news is Trump has filed his first motion in court. Take a look at this Fox News report. I told you got a lot of information to show you today. But Trump files motion seeking independent review of documents seized during the FBI raid on Mar-a-Lago. And it goes, according to the motion filed Monday evening, the U.S. District Court for Southern District of Florida, Trump and his legal team are seeking an order to appoint a special master to review the records obtained during the search, blocks the further review of seized materials by the government until a special master is appointed, and it requires the Justice Department to provide more detailed receipt for property and requires the government to return any items seized that were not scope of the search warrant. And there's a lot of things, according to President Trump, that they seized that were not part of that search warrant. He said, here's just a couple of them that he talks about here. They demanded that the security cameras be turned off, a request that they rightfully denied. In other words, they weren't supposed to do that. They prevented his attorneys from observing, right, saying that, oh, we can't let you observe. They took documents that were covered by a client attorney privilege, completely illegal and not allowed. They took his passports. They also broke up in his safe and found nothing inside. But these are the kinds of things that I think Trump can take them to court for regarding that. But in a nutshell, I really expand on this, by the way, on Restricted Republic, but I'm just going to be very blunt. I believe my opinion and my strong opinion is that there are probably unclassified documents that Donald Trump unclassified when he was in office regarding Crossfire Hurricane, in which I believe the FBI potentially got their hands on those documents, which they still haven't fully released. Let me just say this more simply. Donald Trump, when he was president, he unclassified all the Crossfire Hurricane information. I believe that he took some of that information with him. To this date, none of that information, or the majority of that information, has not been unclassified to the public. Gee, I wonder why. I believe President Trump had some of that at his home. They're calling that classified, even though Donald Trump said it's not classified and unclassified it. This is my opinion, by the way. And I believe that they are using the executive office to try to take away his executive privilege so they can continue to hide that information. Well, you're busted. You are absolutely busted. And I believe the American people are onto it. Anyhow, don't forget to check out my partner at preparewithlisa.com. Look, if you don't have a VPN, now is absolutely the time to get one. You get 50% off per life. But what a VPN does is it hides what you're looking at online. It hides from cyber attacks, from DDoS attacks, from the government spying, all of this kind of thing. So it really acts as if you're looking at information, say, off of a computer in Los Angeles when you live in Texas. But check it out right now at hidewithlisa.com and take advantage of that offer. And I only partner with the people that I absolutely have faith in and love and adore. Anyhow, I love all of you. I'm Lisa Haven, signing out.